Hi everyone, you reached Chronicles of the Gray Hair Diva. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. For all of you out there, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. Hit the like button, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. And share my video with your friends and family so that they can come to my channel and get to know me also. I'm here today with a quick video, my take, my recap on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Reunion Part 2. 20 minutes out of the 60 minutes was dedicated to Erika Jayne, the topic of this entire season, okay? Her and her estranged husband, Tom Girardi. So Andy, he did the best he could. He did a good job of asking Erika the questions that we wanted to know as the viewers and the fans. Typical Erika Jayne style, instead of answering the questions, she danced around it and she tells elaborate, and I mean elaborate, and unbelievable stories versus answering the question. And last night, we pretty much got a lot of the same that we got during the season, so it wasn't too much new for me. And I'm like, really, we're taking 4 parts so that she really doesn't answer any questions, or she's giving us the same that we already got during the season. And at the rest of that episode, outside of the 20 minutes, it was all feelings to me. And so for that reason, instead of them making this 4 parts, I think they could have wrapped it up in 3. But instead, they're going to hold us captive for 4 hours out of our life. So let's get into it. Andy asks her the question that everyone wants to know. If everything was so bad, Tom was a cheater. He didn't respect you. It wasn't, and at some point, things went away and you knew about these different mistresses, and you asked them if there was somebody else, just leave me. And she got a lot of drama and dramatics with her stories, okay? Just leave me be. So Andy was like, well, why didn't you leave? And then, she looks at him like she's a typical or average housewife. And she was like, well, where was I going to go? Where was you going to go, Andy said. So Andy was ready. I give that to him. He was ready. Where was you going to go? Well, you make a lot of money on the show. He pretty much told her, I know what you make. So you had the resources to leave. So that's when she was ready too. Somebody prepped her too, because she was like, well, I didn't keep not one of my checks. I handed every single check over to Tom. You handed every single check over to a man that you say his mental state was declining. But okay, we'll roll with you for right now. You handed every single check over to Tom, and you had nothing to do. You had no access to the money. Well, again, Andy was ready for it. He said, all right, so you handed over every check. So when you finally did leave, where did you get the resources and the money to leave? Oh, she was ready too. That's why I said we got preparation on both sides. That's when Erika said, well, I can't answer that question legally, but I will tell you this. Everything that I did do to leave, it was legal. So that's how she left that particular situation. But every time Andy asked her a question, she had a crazy, elaborate, outlandish, ridiculous story. The best was when she finally decided to leave, because he had all of these women after him. This man whose mental state was declining, and she herself can clearly tell and see it. I guess none of the mistresses saw it and cared, because she saw it, and one of them sent him a text on his flip phone of their boobs, and she responded saying, nice tits, you stupid bee. That's what she responded to one of his mistresses. So all the ones before, she protected him. But as she was leaving, this last one, that one got her angry, and she responded to that one. That part of the story, in my mind, is like whatever. The part that I got stuck on is this man. Y'all living in a mega mansion, and he has a flip phone. He doesn't have a smartphone. He has a flip phone. Okay, Erika. As I stated, her stories are so ridiculous, outlandish, and just downright crazy. I'm sitting there saying to myself, like, is she for real? And then she had the nerve. I never forget, they had a dinner one time, and I forgot who she was talking to, but she told that castmate, don't you ever call me a liar. Don't ever call you a liar, Erika. Well, these stories that you're telling, they don't add up. They don't make sense. But okay, don't ever call you a liar. So again, we got the regurgitated story of how Tom fell off the cliff, was unconscious for hours, but now she went back to, she found him. But when we last heard the story, her son had found him. All right, Erika, whatever you say. And then she wanted to add, to make the story, I guess, more crazier than it already was, that, all of these doctors, no doctor wanted to touch him because they was afraid that Tom was going to sue him. So every doctor in the state of Los Angeles are afraid that Tom is going to sue them. Well, girl, they would be more afraid if they didn't fix him up and do right by him, that he could sue them. But anyway, Erika, we're going to carry on. So Andy asks her, was there a police report? She goes, I don't know, they can't find it. No, Andy, you needed to say to her, did you call the police? Did the police come? And where are those discharge papers? Can we see the discharge paperwork from the hospital? What did that say, and what hospital was he in? So Andy messed up a little bit. And I think the reason why he messed up is because last night we went from teary-eyed Erika to furious Erika. And she explained that. She said, listen, I am fighting for my life. And I'm paraphrasing, guys. She said, Tom, he's in his 80s. He lived his life. I just turned 50. I got a lot life left in me and a lot to live for. And after all this, the smoke goes away, I got to live. And that's why I'm feisty. And that's why I'm fighting. Again. Okay, Erika. So did we get answers to our questions last night? No. But I will say this, there was some fan, how Andy likes to throw in, the fan questions. And I want to say, I think her name was Riley from Pittsburgh. And, she asked the question that we all want to know. And the question was, so Erika, you claim that your husband, after this crash, after this accident, he really started to show a lot of signs of Alzheimer's. And yet, and that he didn't know what he was doing, and he wasn't in his right state of mind. So they pretty much said, how could you leave a man that you was with for 20 years, that funded your lifestyle, this career that you wanted as a pop star or a singer or whatever? How could you leave a man that that you're saying out of your own mouth was not in his right state of mind? Why would you leave him while he's sick, he's ill, and he's not in his great state of mind? Well, you think she answered that? Nah, she wasn't going to answer it. Because how can you answer that question? Because if you say that you left this man knowing that he was sick, then you're going to seem like the bad guy. Or if you say that, the question that everybody really thinks that you did is once you found out that he was in all this trouble, that's the only reason why you left. Again, you're going to seem like the bad guy, because then the answer is going to be that, like we thought, she knew what he was doing. She knew that allegedly he was stealing this money. And still last night, above all and everything, she still was taken up for Tom. She was like, well, we don't know if he did this. We still have to see. It still has to play itself out. Erika. And then she claims, because Andy had a question, a comeback for that. He said, well, what if he did do it? Like, do you feel the same? Did you love Tom? Do you think he loved you? She said she loved him, and he believed he loved her. But, if this is true, what he's being accused of, she said, well, then I don't know who I was with and who I was sleeping with. And that's pretty much what we got from Erika last night. In my mind, a bunch of nothing. So they filled it in with, Lisa Renner and talking about her husband. And I will say this, there's a lot of rumors or whatever swirling around about Harry, her husband, but I do like him. And Lisa brought some sauce to Andy from her husband. And that's pretty much, they threw a sprinkle of Lisa Renner into the reunion last night. The big thing that came up that you can kind of see the uneasiness in Dorit was the whole scene where they talked about, the help in her house and the help being, a lot of black and brown people. And, I will say this, Garcelle tried to step in and take up for her and say, the conversation was uncomfortable. And of course, we didn't get to see the extended version of the conversation. So she kind of tried to save Dorit, but it's unfortunate. The public already made their decision about how Dorit handled that. And Dorit want to say, sometimes I don't use the right words. Well, that's funny, Dorit. Coming from you, the person that said to Garcelle, you speak several languages, and what Garcelle was saying doesn't make sense to you in no language, but now you want to say that, sometimes you use the wrong words. Come on, Dorit, which one we going to do? But they gave us a sprinkle of Dorit last night. And then to go back to Erika Jayne for 1 second, there was one piece where she wanted to, again, she's shoving down our throat this narrative that, her estranged husband Tom and his mental state, which has nothing to do with anything in terms of what the question we want her to answer. And she had all the ladies kind of collaborating that, oh yeah, my friend told me that when someone's mental state is declining, they look like this and that and the other. It was ridiculous. In my mind, I'm like, okay, are we all still scared of Erika? Is anybody going to stand up, be strong, stay strong, and say what they really have to say and mean? But no, last night, did they do that? No. They all jumped in and played into the narrative of story time with Erika Jayne, and they all contributed a piece to this story. We had a nice scene with Kyle and Kathy Hilton. I think that Kathy, it touched my heart. I think Kathy can probably use some therapy. I'm not sure what year and when their mother passed away. But Kathy is still heartbroken over it, and I kind of get it. I get it because I believe they say their mother was a single parent, and Kathy is the oldest. And normally, the firstborn, when any one has more than one child, usually the firstborn is always very close to the parents because they were the first one, and you're so happy, and it's like, okay, I had a baby, and that one indirectly gets so spoiled because they are the firstborn. So I could imagine that Kathy and her mother were very close, especially if the mom was a single mom, and Kathy probably helped her mom raise her siblings. But Kathy is just absolutely heartbroken. You can tell to her mom is her superhero. Her mom was her everything. But I like the way that finally her and Kyle are like reunited and back together. Outside of that, we didn't hear much from Sutton. Crystal pretty much is, she's just a fixture on the stage right now. Sutton kind of is too. And we didn't hear too much from Garcelle last night. I don't know what is left that they can possibly give us in part 3 and 4, but I'll be tuned in. But for now, in terms of what we heard from Erika, do I believe her? Don't you call me a liar? Well, Erika, come on, honey. And my thing is, obviously, she's not looking back at her own footage and thinking to herself, my stories don't add up. Guys, let me know. What did you think about the reunion last night? Chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will definitely chat back. Do you believe Erika? Are you feeling sorry for her? Do you think she should be fired? Now, I will say this. They kind of brought up this comparison about how from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, when Teresa and her husband was going through everything, they weren't fired. They were still on the show. But I think the difference between Erika's situation and Teresa and her husband, they faced up to their situation. Teresa ended up spending time in jail. Teresa wasn't spitting in people's face and flaunting. She was like very sorry, and she signed the papers, with her and her husband's debacle, but she was very sorry. She kind of took her part in the situation. But Erika, she wants us to forgive her, but she forgives no one. That's it, guys. Chat with me in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to hit the like button.